I've never had anyone to talk to. You were the first person to support me, warmly accepting me, trying to understand me. I'm sorry, but it's hard to forget that.
That's challenging. I have no idea. Any hints you can throw my way on this one?
It's a movie I know you've seen.
Okay.
It's foreign, so
Okay.
you would have read that. I'm trying to think of a hint that won't give it away necessarily.
All right.
It's a woman who says it.
Uh-huh. It's not like Lady Snowblood, is it?
No, but it
Okay.
is. It is that country.
Okay, it is a Japanese film.
Yes, and it's
Um,
newer than that.
I'm totally blanking. I guess either tell me or give me another hint.
It's Audition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did see that recently.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
The moment of heart-rate feeling, spirit is something.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Average Joe's Movie Club cast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
And on this episode, we're learning to trust no one as we join the ranks of the French resistance during World War II in Jean-Pierre Melville's 1969 film Army of Shadows. Plus, I'm easing Joey into the masterful work of legendary Russian director Andrei Tarkovsky by checking out his first feature film, Ivan's Childhood.
All right, and just a heads up, as usual, we will discuss our full thoughts on films. So if you haven't seen one, you just skip ahead to avoid any spoilers.
And if you want to be a part of the movie club, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. And at the end of each episode, we talk about what movies we're going to watch next time. So within the span of 2 to 3 weeks, hopefully you can catch up and be on the same page with us. So how you been, Joey?
I've been all right, man. I can't complain too much. Let's see. I think since the last time we recorded, I've put my car in the shop twice.
Oh, no.
So that's been kind of crucial to my finances. I had some money saved up because I was going on vacation in like 2 months, and the money for vacation is gone. My ticket's still bought, but my money is gone. So
Yeah, that's
trying
territory.
trying to resave for that. Let's see. I think the last time I talked about how I'd been crazily playing this game called Bloodborne. So last night I got the platinum trophy for that. So people who aren't familiar with that, on PlayStation they have these things called trophies when you do a certain thing in the game. When you get all of them, they give you a platinum trophy, because you have bronze, silver, gold, and then the platinums when you get everyone. So I finally got the platinum trophy for that. And then this Sunday,
Was that a DLC I saw you post on Facebook?
I beat all the DLC too. That doesn't affect the platinum. So you can have the platinum for the base game and then not play any of the DLC and still have the platinum, which I have for another game, which was Spider-Man, which I did in 2018, I believe. But so, yeah. So no, I have this game completely 100%ed everything. So.
Very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
thinking back to our little quote trivia, I guess the only real line I remember from that movie was it the kitty 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 kitty.
Oh, yeah, no. I wanted to do something that wasn't too That movie. That's a movie that needs to be watched and not really talked about. I feel like
Oh
if you
yeah,
talk about
especially
that
with the
movie,
twist.
yeah, there's so much in that movie. So
Shoot,
and
yeah, I pretty much knew what was coming in that movie, and it still like knocked my socks off. So
yeah,
yeah,
that
it's a
movie
good
was
one.
fantastic. I wish we were talking about that movie, but I won't go into that so much here. And then I've got Sunday. I'm gonna go up to Raleigh, and I'm going to see Kill Switch Engage. Me and my buddy's going. I think it's his first time seeing them, but it'll be like my fourth time seeing them. So I'm pretty stoked. I don't even know who they're playing with. He bought the tickets. He's like, we're going, but so I'm down. I'm not.
Those metal bands.
Yeah, Kill Switch is a pretty heavy band, I guess. I mean, there are definitely bands that are heavier than them, but they're pretty heavy. It probably, if you were to know them, it'd be for their cover of Holy Diver. Um, and then there are wrestling fans who know them because their song "This Fire" was a wrestler's entrance for quite a while as well.
So what's this big trip you got coming up?
The big trip is the week of my birthday. I'm gonna go leave out on May 9th, and I'm gonna come back on my actual birthday, May 6th, to go to Albuquerque to see my buddy Henry, who lives out there. He used to work with me here in Florence, but he's from New Mexico originally, so he moved back home in 2017. And then not that long after he moved home, he came back and visited for a week. And then, but we haven't seen him since like the end of October 2017. So I mean, we keep in contact, like we play video games and stuff and what have you together. But like I haven't seen him since then. So I'm gonna go crash with him and his roommate and meet his roommate, who I also play video games with. And like I told him, I was like, you got to get some authentic Mexican or Mexican-ish food from out there and find some crazy ridiculous burger, because that's kind of my thing.
Nice.
And then who knows what else we'll get into, but probably not as much now, as I don't have like $400+ just chilling waiting for the trip. So
Yeah, I've heard the red and green chilies are a big thing out there. Like you can even get those at like McDonald's.
yeah, green chili is a big thing out there apparently.
And you've never flown before, huh? So this is
That is.
and you're afraid of
Yes.
heights.
Yes, all of that is true. So, I mean, everyone's telling me different things. Once it takes off, you'll be real chill. You won't even notice, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I've got a Switch, which I bought specifically for this trip to take with me. I might take my laptop. I haven't decided on that. Or I've got a phone, obviously, that I can download stuff from Netflix onto my my
Which
memory
is
card
nice.
to watch.
Because you can watch that while you're taking off. With a laptop, you have to actually be up in the air before they let you take that out. So typically a tablet or whatever's probably preferred while keeping yourself distracted during takeoff.
Nice. Yeah, I hadn't planned on taking my laptop, but I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I'm gonna be there for a week, if there's only like the TV in each of their rooms or something, and I want something, like I want to watch something and I don't want to just use my phone. Like it'd be cool to have my laptop, because then I can at least, Netflix or whatever and have something to watch while I'm there. So even if I don't use the laptop on the flight, at least I'd have it for something to do, during downtime when we're not doing stuff. Because I didn't realize this until 2-3 days ago, and part of me says I'm dumb, is that they're like between 52 and like 6,000 feet above sea level there. So they're kind of in the mountains.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I did not know that.
Makes a little bit of a difference when you're walking around.
Yeah.
The furthest west I've ever been is Denver, back in college, and I used to fly quite a bit. I used to have a job up in Chicago where I had to go up there every month, and so I got pretty used to watching movies on planes. And there's certainly some movies you don't want to watch on a plane. Like there's this Criterion called Fantastic Planet, which is kind of like this trippy 70s movie about these like aliens and little humans and stuff. And I was sitting there watching it in the airport thinking, I hope nobody looks over my shoulder, because they probably think I am absolutely out of my mind watching this movie right now. So
Yeah, probably don't want to watch like snakes on a plane. So
or even audition for the matter. All right. So what's going on with me? So before the show, you had noticed that you noticed my facial hair was a little darker, and it's way too dark, way darker than I anticipated. So about a week ago, like I naturally have like dirty blonde hair, so that's essentially what my beard was kind of this dirty blonde look, and I was like, man, I kind of want something a little more solid. So I bought the Just for Men's brown. Usually I'd always get in like the darker blonde version, but this time I got the straight up brown. So I put that on, and I thought that looked pretty good. But I kind of missed some spot, like the very top of my mustache. I didn't quite get, and so I decided to do it again tonight. And it was only been about a couple days to a week since I last did it. And yeah, it turned my beard black. So, which is not necessarily the color I was going for. It's pretty unnatural for my dirty blonde hair and a black beard. So, yeah, I guess I'm a pirate right now.
Yeah, your beard color looks like mine. minus the Tommaso Ciampa gray streak that I have in mine. So yeah.
Yeah. Is there a trick to getting it? Like, because like I've been kind of growing this for about a year, and it doesn't really go past there. I mean, is there any trick to like getting it to get any longer?
Not really. Like,
Just gonna let it go.
I just let it go, and I mean I use like beard oil to kind of keep my skin from being super dry underneath, and now especially since I started letting my hair grow out, I use tea tree oil shampoo and conditioner on both my hair and my beard, which is expensive. They're $12 to $15 a bottle a piece.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have atrocious scalp issues anyway, so it keeps those under control, and it smells nice. So there's that.
Like like whenever like I see like little strands here and there, like I'll clip those off because like I gotta look like sharp for work or whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure if that would be enough to like prevent it from like getting any longer. But yeah, it seems like this is about. I mean, and this is the longest I've ever let it grow, and so yeah, enjoying it. Other than the fact that it's black right now.
I mean, hey, at least it's dye. It'll grow out eventually.
Mm-hmm. True. Or I guess I could try shaving it and starting all over and see if it grows in a little better. I don't know. I've never really bought into that. Every time it seems like the more you shave it, it just makes it shorter. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I would just let it grow out.
Nice. Did you pick up anything in the Criterion Flash sale?
No, because that hit like the same day or the day after I had my brakes worked on. So it was, do I want groceries or do I want movies?
Movies, of course. Yeah, typically I've never participated in the flash sale, but since our Barnes & Nobles went out of business, I went ahead and canceled that membership, and I guess I'll do the flash sales from now on. And I picked up that copy of Scanners I wanted, because that's a great looking cover, and a pretty good movie as well from Cronenberg. Got that. I finally got Punch Drunk Love. I had been meaning to get that for ages. Finally picked that up. And then they say you got to go with a box set with these flash sales. So I finally did that, and I picked up a Decalogue from Kieslowski. And I already saw that. I never blind buy. I try not to blind buy because I don't like to get burned on that stuff. I'd rather rent it and check it out first before I purchase it. Stuff's too expensive not to own stuff you don't want. So, yep. And that has, like, the version I saw online, like the subtitles were like really like they flashed way too fast. So I like kept having to like pause it and rewind it to like keep track of what was going on. So hopefully watching it on disc will be a little more comfortable. And I haven't seen that's like, just to give you some insight, that's like a 10 episode series, and each episode's like an hour. And then 2 of the episodes were extended into short movies. So I've seen one of those movies and I still need to see the other one. So that'll be another good part about owning that set. Busy. Oh my gosh, this springtime's nuts. So my one son has gymnastics on Monday nights, and then after that, if like two of us are around, like he'll like catch the last half of t-ball practice, and I'll take my other son to soccer. Tuesdays and Thursday nights are baseball practice. Wednesday nights are scouts / t-ball if we can get there. And then on top of all that, I got homework, and my son really hates to do homework he like totally like slacks off and does his homework like as fast as possible, so he's always having to like redo it. And so yeah, it's his springtime is a busy time of year. So, but eventually I get to watching my movies and writing my reviews. I'm pretty much caught up. I don't think I've been behind on reviews since. Like, there was a few movies I watched the beginning of last year, and I never got around to reviewing them, and finally I was just like, man, I just gotta let that go, because, like, it had been, like, a couple months, and it was to the point where if I was gonna write a review, I had to, like, flick back and watch through, like, whole parts of movies, and you might as well just watch the whole movie at that point. So, but yeah. Glad I'm staying caught up on that. Have you ever been to a drive-in movie before?
Oh, yeah. So when I lived in Beaufort, they had a drive-in movie theater. And so me and my ex-girlfriend would go to those all the time. That's how I saw, was it Pirates 5, Guardians 2. I mean, it was a bunch of like the Marvel movies and stuff. So we would go to those a lot.
It's like Highway 21 or something?
That sounds right for Beaufort. I don't remember, but I mean, we loved it because I mean, you would basically get to see potentially 2 movies. It was pretty cheap. And then it had like a full grill. So I mean, burgers and fries, or funnel cakes. It was, nice. I mean, yeah, it was for basically the price of what it would cost me. Like if I went on a date to the Swamp Fox, which is the Regal movie theater here in Florence. Mm-hmm. For what it would cost for me to pay for like me and a date to get into the movie theater at night is how much it would cost for both of us to get in to see 2 movies and eat.
Yeah.
So nice. Yeah, and plus you're in your car, so like if you want to talk, fine, you're not disturbing anybody else. You can control the temperature, like you control the volume, like it's pretty nice in all reality. So.
Yeah, we're going to that same drive-in this weekend. It's part of like this Cub Scout trip. Like, all of us in the Cub Scout families are going down there and camping at the theater and, watching those movies and taking advantage, all that stuff you were talking about. I'm thinking we're going to see Onward, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's a new Pixar movie. And I kind of want to see this Harrison Ford movie, Into the Wild. I've heard mixed things about it. But I think the other option is this new, like, what's that wrestler that was in Guardians?
Dave Bautista.
Brock? Oh, Bautista. I think Bautista's in this new like little girl spy movie thing. So I might end up having to watch that. Either way, I'm sure it'll be a good time. So looking forward to going my first drive-in movie this weekend.
Oh, dude, I think you'll enjoy it.
Very nice. Hopefully we'll get good weather. And then I was thinking about, because so basically my ritual is like I'll post a review on Letterboxd like late at night, and then the next morning I'm always excited to see like how many people like my post or whatever, and then I'll go through and I'll like their post back. And so today I was scrolling through like my likes, and I forget what movie it was, but somebody liked this movie like one of my original reviews essentially. And so like it kind of got me thinking about like the cool thing about Letterboxd is like you'll scroll through your diary and like you could probably scroll through like all your movies from last year, and like by you like having written something about each one, you kind of have a memory of maybe when you saw it, or just stuff about it in general, which is kind of cool. And so I thought a cool thing I could, and you can do this on your Letterboxd now if you want, but I wanted to see what movie I watched about a year ago today. And I didn't see a movie a year ago today, but about a year ago today is about the time when I saw Before Midnight from the Before Trilogy from Richard Linklater. So it's kind of crazy. It's been about a year since I've seen that. And I also saw this Jean-Luc Godard film called Contempt, which that's actually one of my favorite Jean-Luc films. So see what you pulling it up now?
I've never seen. Yeah, never even. I'm not even familiar with those.
But are you pulling
have-
up? I'm
going there now.
You're going to your diary? Okay. I'll keep talking
Yeah.
while you're pulling that up. And I know I'm not going to get to these movies in the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly segment. So, just a few nights ago, watched Birds of Prey, which is the new Harley Quinn movie. Thought it was a pretty good time. Didn't really care about the other Birds of Prey characters, but Margot Robbie's amazing as that character. It's a darn shame we're never going to see like Harley Quinn and the Joker against Batman movie, because they totally dropped the ball on like what Joker was in Suicide Squad apparently. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, Birds of Prey, it's a good time. And then this is so Doctor Sleep was like one of my favorite movies of last year. I love The Shining. I thought Doctor Sleep was a cool little addition to that. And so I got the Doctor Sleep 4K disc, and I was really excited to see the director's cut. And I popped the 4K disc in, and the director's cut is like nowhere to be seen. And so then I go and look at the Blu-ray, and there's the director's cut. So in order to watch the director's cut, you have to watch the Blu-ray instead of the 4K, which is crazy because, I mean, I spent extra money on this 4K Steelbook, to watch Doctor Sleep director's cut 4K, and yeah, that doesn't exist. So that's kind of frustrating. Especially the director's cut is like really, really nice because it kind of felt like a whole new movie with like how much more was added in. There's like a whole 30 minutes more. And unlike Batman versus Superman, that 30 minutes actually felt like it needed to be in there. So there you go.
Well, two things there. I think they probably did the director's cut on Blu-ray because that's still more accessible to more people than 4K currently. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry that you went back and watched the director's cut of Batman versus Supes. A lot of people apparently say that fixes that movie, but I'm not going to waste my time watching it.
That movie has no business being 3 hours long.
So 1 year ago today, on March 10th, I did not watch anything.
Okay.
But 1 year ago, and I didn't watch anything on the 9th, but 1 year ago tomorrow, I watched Captain Marvel.
Oh, I watched that in the same time span as well. Very cool.
Yeah, it's like it came out in theaters or something.
Pretty much.
So
I don't think I saw it right away. I think I saw it like the following week or whatever. But
I think I saw it on Monday after it came out.
Nice.
Which would make sense that 1 year ago. Yeah, I think that's about right, or maybe Tuesday, because that's when we try not to go to the Marvel movies like the day they come out. That being said, on May 1st, so I guess April 30th, my ass will be in the theaters to watch Black Widow. If I'm by myself, I don't care. I'm going opening day. I'm just going to point that out. All right, continue along with what we're doing.
Yeah, sounds good. And then I wanted to make a new game where like we took turns like deciding what kind of adult beverages we would have on this show, like picking back and forth. But then I found out that Joey has a very limited palate when it comes to the sweet drinks that he likes to partake in. But tonight we are both drinking Red's Wicked Apple Ale. It'd be nice if this show was sponsored by that, but I don't feel like putting any effort into that. So there you go.
I mean, maybe someone will listen or, point that out that, hey, we threw them out and, threw them up and they want to sponsor us. That'd be dope. But yes, I don't drink very often and I don't drink very much. But when I do, it is usually yes. So like when I talked about that trip earlier, when I said it was my birthday and it will be my friend's birthday, it will be a lot. So tonight it's not. Also, seeing as we're recording this at 11 o'clock at night and I'm going to have to get up at 7:30 in the morning, I don't think I need to be partaking in a lot of alcohol. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, okay. You'll manage. You're single.
It's not that I'm single. It's that I'm, in my 30s. I'm not a young buck anymore. Also, if Nick and Matt Jackson want to sponsor this, go Young Bucks.
I'm not sure what that reference is.
No, you're not, but it's fine. I am. It's okay.
Alrighty. So that leads us into our movie night pick'em game, and I believe it's my turn, right?
I believe so. That sounds right.
Okay. And so I wanted to go with something epic tonight. So I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen one of these movies, and I'm not sure about the other. But these are both really long movies, so get your Google ready just to see if you want to do any reading on these before I announce them. So the first one, okay. So would you rather watch the Human Condition trilogy or Lawrence of Arabia?
Okay. Well, seeing as I've never heard of the Human Condition trilogy, or at least by not by that name, and Lawrence of Arabia is on a watch list of mine as that I want to watch it, I will pick Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
Plus, I mean, it's an all-time classic. It won like a gazillion awards. Hell, it probably just won an award while we were talking. I'll go with that.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. I did throw the Human Condition trilogy out there. You've heard of Harry Carey before, right?
Yes, I've heard of Harry Carey.
That's the same director, and basically the Human Condition is like 3 2-hour films, I think. So real long epic there, but yeah, it's all about like Japan during World War II, I think. It's on my watch list. Been watching a lot of big epics the last couple of years, and that's going to be one of the next ones I check out. So I thought the Japanese thing might lure you one way, but it's hard to argue with Lawrence of Arabia. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's time to figure out what we've been, or check out what we've been watching lately, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, Joey, what do you got tonight?
All right, so I'm going to have the disappointing, the surprising, and the amazing.
Okay, let's hear about your surprising.
Surprising was La Femme Nikita.
Okay. That's a TV show, right?
Well, there's two. There's actually La Femme Nikita, but they're all based off of La Femme Nikita, which is a Luc Besson movie. So, you know, Fifth Element, Lucy,
Yep.
And so he just tends to make an Anna, which I have not seen, but he tends to make movies where he's like, yo, I got this badass chick kicking people's asses, and that's my wheelhouse. And so it was in French, of course, and you know, it's from 1990, so it doesn't have some of the cooler stuff that today's movies have. But you know, I was expecting just kind of a shoot 'em up movie, which it does have a lot of that in it. And it just kind of surprised me as it had a little bit more to it than that. You know, there was some plot points and different stuff that I wasn't really expecting, and it had a little cameo from Leon. I guess before he was Leon in it, before he was The Professional, which is another Luc Besson movie. And so the more I see of this man's movies, the more I want to see. So just, yeah.
Have you seen what his latest movie? Gosh, what is it even called? Something in 1,000 Planets or something.
I think I've literally named all the ones I've seen.
Luc Besson. I've definitely seen. He did Fifth Element. You said, yeah.
Yeah.
What was his latest movie? He spent like all this money and it like bombed super hard. Oh, Valerian and the City of it? I'm like, that's like the backdrop of his IMDb. What is this movie called? Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. Yeah. So, yeah, that was his latest one. Yeah, I've had Leon the Professional on my shelf for the longest time. I don't think I've ever seen that movie all the way through because I rented that one time at Blockbuster on DVD, and we watched it we were watching it, and like all of a sudden in the climax, like it started like scrambling like crazy, and then it like jumped to the end, and that's what I've seen of Leon. So I should probably give that one a fair shake and watch it all the way through one of these days on my 4K I have sitting on my shelf waiting to be watched.
For the record, Valerian is not his most recent movie. Anna came out last year. And Valerian came out in 2017. And Anna's just another chick spy kicking ass movie. So
okay. All right, my three are All Hail Scorsese, Oh My God, Joey, I Did It Again, and if 2001 A Space Odyssey was an action movie.
All right, so let's do All Hail Scorsese.
Okay, so I watched two Scorsese movies in the period between our shows, and one was clearly better than the other, and that would be Raging Bull, which I just watched a few days ago. In high school, I got on a big kick of watching like the all-time great movies and like going to Blockbuster and renting them, and I didn't remember a lot about Raging Bull. And rewatching it, oh my gosh, De Niro! This is probably De Niro and Pesci's like best performance. It's kind of like an anti-Rocky movie with how like it like crams like the whole story of this boxer from like his championship days in the ring to him being like this complete scumbag at home, and he's like this complete paranoid like freak at home. Like his wife will say like one thing like, "Oh, I want a cheeseburger." He's like, "Well, why'd you talk my wife into making having a cheeseburger?" And he's just like so paranoid and such an asshole, and like it. Man, this movie was getting to me. Like once like he got to the point where he was like smacking her around, and it was tough to watch, but it was so like visceral, like those moments, and like how the boxing was like all up in your face. If you haven't seen Raging Bull, like De Niro totally deserved that Oscar win. That's a great performance. The other Scorsese movie I rewatched Casino, which I now have strong opinions about. Like I'm now considering like Scorsese's gangster trilogy to be Goodfellas, Casino, and his latest one, The Irishman. And I'm kind of under the impression now the longer Scorsese goes with a gangster movie, the more it it gets a little bit too big to manage. It like goes on a little bit too long and kind of like loses its luster towards the end. That's not exactly the case with Irishman, but yeah, Casino, like I really love like all the in casino parts where like they're talking about how it works, but then like in the last half hour it's just about this like relationship falling apart, and it just kind of like goes on and on and on. At the 3-hour mark, I think it is, where Goodfellas I believe is about 220, which is spot on perfect. Even that kind of starts to spiral at the end, but in a more logical way, which I kind of came to see the last time I watched it. So, yep, that's me spewing Scorsese. So what movie was disappointing for you?
That was the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Okay.
Now, I wasn't expecting this to be a masterwork in cinema or, anything of that nature.
It's no Raging Bull.
Yeah, it's no Raging Bull, it's no The Departed, etc. But having watched like every Kevin Smith movie and enjoying them for the most part, except for Cop Out and a piece of trash. To be fair, that's not written and directed by Kevin Smith, but I digress. Anywho, I was big excited. I was actually supposed to go and watch this at one of the meet and greets, the Q&As, and just it fell through and I wasn't able to do that. But it came up, I ordered it, ended up, it took a little while to get to watch it, and just maybe with the influence of all these new insanely great movies I've been watching, or maybe because I'm not 15 anymore, the jokes just didn't hit the same, etc. Now they hit the throwbacks, to pretty much the whole View Askew universe. I think they might have done a few too many, or maybe there were some scenes where it felt like it was just one right after the other, where maybe it was too many in a row, etc. But like Chris Jericho had a cameo that was great. Ben Affleck had a cameo, which of course was great. I mean, he's a big part of View Askew. And then Thor himself was in there in a cameo, which was also really great. But then there was just some other parts where it's just the movie itself was.
So was it worse like when? I mean, how would you compare it to like Yoga Hosers?
Oh, I loved Yoga Hosers. Yoga Hosers was great. So Yoga Hosers was silly, and like it knew it was silly.
With that one. Mm-hmm.
And granted, this movie knew it was silly, but I think it was self-aware that it was silly. But it was like, hey, I know I'm silly, and I want you to know that I know that I'm silly, and I want you to know be aware
I
that it's
know.
silly, and know that I 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 know. And it was like, okay, we got it. Like,
Too
you're
much
in on the
wink,
joke.
nod.
Yeah, it was like a little bit too much of it, which
Okay.
Jay and Silent Bob had some of that too, but I think it hit like the right amount maybe. But I mean, I also watched that movie 20 years ago, so.
Oh, I don't remember enjoying that one that much. I think Clerks is still probably my favorite. The only one I can remember actively not liking was Red State. It's Red State, right?
Yeah, no, see, that one I liked, but of his like View Askew stuff, or I guess his not necessarily even View Askew, but like his comedies, like I think Clerks 2 and Zack and Miri are his best ones.
Interesting. All right, so I have OMG and 2001.
2001.
Okay, so I finally got around to seeing Ad Astra, which was Brad Pitt's big sci-fi movie. It was all right. It was just the fact that like it was just trying to be like 2001, and I don't know. I'm sure you can do a space exploration movie and it not feel just like 2001. I mean, that's possible, right? Right. There's a killer baboon in space. I mean, there's some good action scenes. Like they go to like, oh gosh, I think it's the moon, and they're like, man, it's the Wild Wild West out there, and they get in their little moon buggies, and all of a sudden these space pirates come chasing after them. Oh, it also felt a lot like Apocalypse Now. Like a lot of people who trash this movie will be like, man, there was just way too much like narration like throughout. It just wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. I didn't have a problem with it, but it did remind me of the fact that it's from a better movie, Apocalypse Now. I mean, it was all right. I guess I was just expecting it to be a little bit more cerebral than it was. It just was kind of like a straightforward like sci-fi flick that was trying to be 2001, where I thought it was going to be a little bit more special than that. So yeah, that's Ad Astra in a nutshell.
So there's a killer monkey in space. Like, was it also 12 monkeys? Like,
yeah, they're just like, do you mind, sir, if we check out this spaceship in the mountain just floating here? It's like, yeah, no, we can't check it out. And then they check it out anyways, and there's a killer baboon on it, and for no reason.
was Bruce Willis there?
I guess it might have been a metaphor. I don't know. Nope, no Bruce Willis. Just who's the other actor in that? Tommy Lee Jones is in it, and yeah, Brad Pitt. So, all right. What was your last category? You were impressed?
Impressed, amazing, fantastic, whatever adjective you want to put there. That's
okay.
All of those things. Which was Audition.
Okay.
And you've talked about this movie once on a previous episode, I think, in the same category or in the same thing, Good, Bad, Ugly. And so for the sake, like we said earlier, you don't really want to talk about this movie too much. It's going into this movie blind is the best way to go into this movie, in my opinion, because even though you had talked about it previously, by the time I got around to watching it, all I remembered was you said this movie was fantastic. I had completely forgotten what you had even said about it.
I think that goes duo for me with I Saw the Devil, but continue.
So just movie is great. I recommend that everybody should watch this movie. Just, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm just going to tell you to watch it. It's fantastic. Watch it blind. Be prepared to read. So if you need glasses or anything like that, bring those and watch it. You can get it from Arrow, because that's how we watched it, because my roommate Carl had it from the Arrow collection. And yeah, that's all you need to know. It's fantastic. Yeah. Boom.
So does that mean a Takeshi Miike movie is in this box? We will see coming up, because Joey likes to link his quote movies to his challenges. So
yes,
we have an unboxing. Sir. Yeah, so survive for these next two Criterion movies we're going to talk about, and you'll find out what's in the box.
I can't wait. So good.
All right, my last one is, oh my God, Joey, I did it again. And I watched another 3+ hour movie that was to most people would bore the hell out of their entire skull, make them want to crack it on a bathtub, which we see this woman in this movie clean for probably 20 minutes. Okay, so I watched the notorious Jean Dillman 23 Quadu Comments 1080 Brussels. Okay, so this is like an acclaimed feminist film. And so the gist is we see this woman go through her day-to-day chores for 3 days. And we watch her slowly, her OCD slowly start to crack and come apart and fray. I'm so glad I knew this wasn't going to be a 3-hour movie about a woman doing chores. So I was mentally prepped for that. Came in and it's almost hypnotic. Like there's like this scene where like she cracks these eggs and she takes this meat and she starts kneading it and she makes a meatloaf, and it goes on for like probably 15 minutes making meatloaf. And I'm sitting there like, do I look at the meatloaf? Do I look at her expression as she's making the meatloaf? And it's a trip. It's kind of like this once in a lifetime kind of movie you kind of sit down and experience. I'll probably watch it again eventually, but some crazy stuff happens at the end, so it is worth the ride. But yeah, just imagine a 3-hour plus movie about a woman doing chores with OCD and like how she's kind of like totally like cut off from the world because like her husband died. So you just chew on that for a second and eventually check it out on the Criterion Channel under their Art House Essential Collection. So there you go. So I've seen, and it reminded me a lot of that Set and Tango movie I was telling you about a few episodes ago, where like shots would just go on and on and on. And where Set and Tango, it was almost hilarious because it's like, okay, would you end already? But they're just still going. Like, well, that was kind of funny. Like watching this lady go on and on and on with her chores, it was actually kind of sad. So they had a kind of a different feel to it. So that's my second big classic epic of the year. Who knows, before the end, maybe I'll get to that Human Condition trilogy. We shall see. And this doesn't sound like... So, Joey, will you ever watch Jean Dillman?
Like, part of it... Like, there's the part of me, like, it sounds interesting in theory.
Yeah, it's probably way more interesting to talk about than to actually suffer through.
If you were like, yo, it's an hour and a half or 2 hours, maybe like 3 hours, and I'm just like
320. Yep.
Oh,
it's a beast. It's a beast.
I think I would rather drink Beast Ice than watch that, and Beast Ice is gross.
Yeah, I don't mind Milwaukee's Best. It's been a long time since I drank it, but and granted, I did break this up over like 3 nights. So like I watched like an hour, I stopped. I watched an hour, stopped. So I didn't watch all in one go through. I didn't cheat. I still got it through. I wrote a kick-ass review on it. Check it out on Letterboxd. Moving on.
I mean, I would have to do that. I almost wanted to do that for this movie that we're about to talk about. And like, fair warning, I think you're going to do all of the talking.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll tee you up for something at least. Okay, so our movie club pick of the week is Army of Shadows by, we had mentioned it earlier, Jean-Pierre Melville, which is Spine 385 in the Criterion Collection. So I'm going to jump the gun a little bit here and say, when I was making my movie club list over a year ago, I might have mentioned this before, but I was essentially picking it based off of like acclaimed directors where they had like these movies that not everybody really talks about all the time. So they kind of got pushed down my list. And I just wanted like an excuse to finally watch them. So that's basically what I comprised all my my movie club list based on. Not so much like what you, the viewers, might think were the most interesting movies out there for us to go check out. Thankfully, hopefully, our challenge movies have kind of incorporated some of those in as well. And I mean, some of our movie club picks have panned out to be some pretty awesome stuff. I mean, you have some all-time bangers on your list. Reminiscing back, I think my favorite well, we can get into our favorites in our season finale, but yeah, there's some good ones on there. But then we're going to have an episode like tonight where you just watch a movie and it's just like, it didn't really click with me. Okay. So, getting back on track here. All right, so Army of Shadows. First of all, like I think I was really attracted to this just based off of how cool the name sounds, like Army of Shadows. That's a badass sounding name. You look at the cover or whatever, and it's this guy like handcuffed to a chair, which looks pretty intense. And I just happened to look at the cover the last couple of days, and I noticed there's like a swastika under the chair, which is a really great touch. I think next month Criterion is like reissuing this movie because it went out of print. So I'm just throwing that out there.
It kind of harkens back to our very first episode. Ashes and Diamonds has the really cool cover, and it's another post World War II movie. I guess this one isn't post, but it was post, and you got the guy with the gun and all of that, and he has a really dope looking cover. And yeah, but
is there more memorable moments in Ashes and Diamonds or Army of Shadows? I would probably have to go with Ashes and Diamonds.
I honestly concur. I think off the top of my head, like the most, I have like 3 memorable moments from this movie, and one of them was ruined because the player froze and I had to fast forward it and I missed it.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it was because I was like, oh my god, this is actually a really beautiful shot, and then it froze.
Oh no. So before this, the only other Melville movie I had watched is Les Samurai.
Same.
So I guess I knew what I was getting into. Like people would say, like online, will say like Les Samurai is like the bee's knees. This movie is so awesome
because it is.
I watched it, and he does some cool samurai kind of stuff in it, but man, it's slow and quiet, and it's just like Army of Shadows, but Army of Shadows way more long, slow, and quiet than Les Samurai. So, in comparison, I think Les Samurai is pretty good compared to this, but at the time, I was a little underwhelmed with how people hype up Les Samurai. Anything else?
Let me tell you, I will watch Les Samurai 100 times out of 100 times over Army of Shadows. Just over and over and over and over and over and over till my eyes are bleeding before I pick Army of Shadows. Like, just that's not even a question. Just yeah. That dude was a badass. The cover art's cool. He's cool. Like he was the baddest dude in the whole damn town. Like Leroy Brown wishes he was as cool as that guy. Just gonna throw that out there.
He looked exactly the same as some of these other trench coat wearing folks in Army of Shadows, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which I guess Melville's really into these like French gangster flicks, which I guess was supposed to bleed off into Army of Shadows. All right, so I guess what I want to get to is the fact that this is like one of the most disappointing Criterions I've watched. I go on Letterboxd and like everybody's saying like this is so awesome. I love this film so much, and it's probably because people that have I don't know how to describe the people who say this movie's awesome, but I'm about to get into how this movie is described. So after watching this movie, I did sit through all 2 hours and 20 minutes again and listen to the commentary just to get some perspective on what this is all about. And between reading about Melville's Army of Shadows and listening to it, here are some of the things you'll hear are so wonderful about this movie. He channels exquisite minimalism, uses cerebral long takes and silence. My favorite's the fact that restrained is this common word you hear with his movies. So for instance, like the commentary had pointed out, there was the torture scene, and instead of showing the torture, they show after the torture. And they say that is to avoid the melodrama, instead focus on the moral issues. Like, I get where like some people are like, oh, it's way more effective if like we see the result of something than actually seeing it take place, because we can imagine something so much more worse than what actually happened. And okay, I disagree. Because I'll watch a movie like I Saw the Devil and I'll see like a guy's face get totally smashed, and that's about as extreme as I can imagine, and I'm seeing it and it's blowing my socks off. So yeah, I mean, I get where subtlety can definitely add to a film and like nuanced performances and all that. That's fine, but I'm much more of a person that likes things like I much prefer a punch in the gut than to like really, and I like contemplative stuff as well. So it's kind of a fine line. It just has to be done like in an engaging way. And we'll probably get to that more with Ivan's Childhood later, because that movie engages me a whole lot more than this, but because it actually gives you something to chew on. Where Army of Shadows was basically just like guys walking around France, like being paranoid. It's very subdued colors because of the paranoia of the movement. I mean, we haven't even really talked about what this movie is about yet. So maybe we should do that.
Well, so the scene with the torture, or I guess the lack there of the scene of the torture. So yes, that whole idea of, you know, not showing something because our imagination can come up with something so much worse is okay. That works in some scenes, and other times, yes, you want something like I Saw the Devil, or, you know, something of that nature where it hits you. So I feel that in this movie specifically, if they had shown the torture there, because of how much they hadn't shown anything else in this whole movie, like how much harder would that have hit you? That this movie that hadn't really shown anything, all of a sudden they show this man being tortured, especially when you've seen the movie cover, you see him sitting in that chair, because that made me sit up. I was like, oh shit, it's the movie cover. Like that's this iconic scene. Something's about to go down. And then it was flipping nothing. Like they had come out with something, and then it was just no. And like I feel like that if they had shown us anything, they had shown us them putting some, you know, like something under his nails. They had been being cut, punching him, anything other than
mocking him even.
Yeah, something, anything, calling him a French pansy, whatever. Nah. Just nothing. And it was really disappointing. Like I knew nothing of this movie really, other than I knew that you weren't super thrilled with it going into it, but I don't really take that too much into account because well, outside of Tarantino, a lot of times our taste super vary. So and you didn't like Le Samurai. So I was like, all right, well, Le Samurai is super dope. So whatever, I'm not going to super go into he didn't enjoy it super much. And like I said in my review, like 10 minutes in, not even 10 minutes in, I was like, oh my God, this movie is so effing boring. So.
Which I'll always try to avoid saying that, because I don't want to seem like the movie has to entertain me, but it's really not giving you a lot. I got really excited. I think it was about 20 minutes in. Like the main character like snatches this knife and like jabs this Nazi guy in the neck, and I'm like, this okay, now we're going. And then he runs down the street and kind of hides, and then it kind of goes back to the same thing.
Yeah, that was one of the scenes I was like, okay, that's a cool scene. That like he takes a dude's knife, stabs him in like the bottom of the jaw, and I was like, all right, this is dope. And then I don't have another cool scene for like I paused it at one point, and I think I paused it at like an hour and a half, and I was like, I still have an hour in this movie, and I wanted to just not keep watching the movie.
When a submarine comes up out of nowhere to take him to London as a highlight of your movie, there's probably not enough highlights.
That's how we got to London? I completely missed that. I didn't even know how the hell they ended up in London. I'm not even going to front with you. I was like, how the fudge are they in London right now, dude? Like, I was just like, oh, they're in London because it's World War II. Okay, sure. I knew there was a sub because they had talked about the sub and I saw the sub, but I didn't know that's how they got to London. I was so checked out. I'm not even going to front with you.
All right, so on Wikipedia it says, so Army of Shadow follows a small group of resistant fighters as they move between safe houses, work with the allied militaries, kill informers, and attempt to evade and capture the execution that they know is their most likely fate. While portraying its character as heroic, the film presents a bleak, unromantic view of the resistance. To say the least. Apparently, Melville was actually a part of the French Resistance, and it's kind of funny that this movie definitely shines more of a negative light on the French people. And watching it back a little bit, it is kind of humorous. So you have that scene where the German marching band is playing in front of the Arc de Triomphe or whatever. You remember that part? I mean, it's the first scene of the movie. How could you not, right? You weren't checked out yet.
Oh, it was the very first scene? Okay, yeah, okay. So
we're
talking about somewhere in the middle, and I was like, nope.
Actually, apparently a factoid about that scene is the fact that they did want that at the very end of the movie, but then they changed it at the very beginning of the movie. But yeah, you kind of get from that the Germans marching and playing victoriously in front of France's most sacred icon, or one of their most sacred monuments, is definitely a spit in their face. Ashes and Diamonds, you had said maybe I'm not just getting this because of the historical context, and at the time I thought there was enough in that movie to where you could actually enjoy it without knowing all that stuff. I mean, I did a lot of reading afterwards, so I guess I kind of did know that stuff. But I guess what I'm getting at is the fact that I guess there is a little bit more historical context you can pull from this movie in particular. So I remember learning about France during World War II in school, and apparently the French they fought valiantly in World War I against the Germans, and then when World War II came around, they wanted no part of it. You were a big history guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was big back then. I'm a little rusty on it now because I haven't had to do it as much. But also at that point, I mean, the Blitzkrieg was in full effect, and Hitler had rolled through Poland and Czechoslovakia and Austria, and I think by the time he got to France, France was just no, we don't really want any part of this. And then there's just kind of a government kind of set up in place because, Germany was hey, we got to fight everybody because everybody wants to kill us. Mm-hmm. And Hitler, had this bloodlust for his perfect race and, all this, that, and other.
So with listening to a little bit about this, I came to So, yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about, what France was during the war. I mean, other than the fact that, the Allies went through there, Normandy Beach and all that stuff. But apparently what the Germans did is they set up this other government to kind of, rule, with them in favor. And then you had this resistant movement that was, doing espionage to, tip the Allies off on what Germany was doing. And so that's basically what these this Army of Shadows, and it's basically these people working covertly to work against Germany. And I mean, it's not like they're going and blowing up bridges or assassinating people. It's more of just talking in rooms, walking down streets, and occasionally offing one of their own because they don't trust them anymore. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they definitely were super paranoid, especially by the end. With I can't remember the lady's name.
Yep, I know who you're talking about. She's the last one to go.
Well, she's the last one to show in the film, yeah, and she's the one who saved so many of them, but they get leverage on her, and then she's begging for us to kill her, and it's what?
Yeah, so highlights of the film. When they're watching not Sound of Music, they're watching, because that's a World War II based film. They were watching Gone with the Wind. That was a good time in London.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I had forgotten that until you said that. Another highlight for me is there's a scene where they're standing they're all eating. No, it's they're overlooking a city.
Okay.
And it's just this really gorgeous shot. I assumed it was Marseille or Paris, but this is where it froze, and I had to fast forward, and it was, boom, it was over. And then my other highlight was like the last shot of the movie. So,
did you watch this on the Criterion channel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I found that Chrome doesn't work the best on Criterion channel. Like, I'll use Safari, and it seems to be a little better, so I'm not sure which browser you use.
Oh, I use the Criterion channel app on Fire Stick.
Oh, there you go. No browser whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but I mentioned it's very moodily lit. Let's see here. I think probably the most memorable scene is, like, I guess they get captured and they get put in like this tunnel thing, and there's like these German machine gunners like at the very end, and they start shooting at him, and the main character's like, no, I don't want to move. But then eventually he has to start moving. And we find out this machine gunner like has the worst aim in the world because he has this Gatling gun, and yet he cannot hit anybody in this tunnel. And then the guy like somehow escapes out the ceiling from these people that are just happen to be there to rescue him. So that was convenient.
Yeah, then the girl holds his hand or whatever, and she has a wedding ring that she didn't have before. So like I don't know if she or maybe it was there before and I didn't notice, but like the way that they positioned their hands, I was like I'm supposed to be paying attention to her wedding ring. But at that point I was like, I don't really care. But I felt
I didn't
like
notice that at all.
And another thing I noticed was they were remember they went to go pick up the guy who got tortured and like rescue him, and he died, and she was standing outside and she saw the leader guy, he's a wanted, and she's like, you need to go hide. Into hiding, you're wanted. And she immediately leaves the restaurant. Couldn't have missed the cops by more than 2 seconds. Or not the cops, but the Gestapo. Yeah. And
well, maybe the French police working under the Germans or whatever.
I think they said they were Gestapo, but I don't remember. Whatever. The people, the police, whatever. And then they just walk in and they're like, "We're arresting this whole restaurant." Like 2 seconds later, and I'm like, "All right, that was also super convenient." Like the most convenient thing in the history of the world, convenient, which is what led to where he was in there when they're like, we're going to give you like a however long head start to run before we start shooting with a machine gun. And then all of a sudden there were smoke bombs and he was, blah, 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 blah.
Pretty much instant. And I think other than the main character, like I couldn't really keep track of who was who in the Resistance. Like there was
some guy named Bacon, right? Or something.
I'm not even sure. I couldn't keep any of them straight. So like whenever they did get offed, like it's not like it had this big impact on me because I barely knew who they were. I guess the woman, I definitely recognized her, but then like, yeah, the last shot is them like gunning her down, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, I think if I would have been able to connect with some of these characters a little more, I might have gotten into it more, but gosh, so much of it seems like a blur, like between like kind of what we remember of them just kind of walking around and talking, and then a few of these highlights, and then them like saying, oh, this is supposed to be minimalism where you're not supposed to see things because it's so realistic. And give me bombastic stuff all day long over like plain simple existence, because I go to the movies to like see some stuff, and if I can live my own life. So I know that's an extreme opinion, but I do like seeing realistic things in movies sometimes. Like for example, like the movie 8th Grade. Like when I watched that, it did remind me of how brutal it is to go through 8th grade, and so that hit me at a gut level. But like, I don't know, I just couldn't connect with like how minimal this was with this whole espionage effort with these resistance people. The cyanide pills, that was kind of interesting to see. They were all about chewing those up as soon as possible if they got caught, right?
Yeah, except for then some people didn't have them, and then like I don't even know, man. Like I'm just this one was like just a complete dud for me. Just honestly, I'm just over it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear, like in the comments if like this movie really connects with you. I'd love to hear like why, like what characters you like, why you liked it, what they said that really brought you in. But yeah, I think for the most part, me and Joey really didn't connect with what was going on in this so-called war movie, realistic war movie. I mean, yeah, if they were, I don't know. I think we've said it all. I did really actually like the score. Like after I finished the commentary, like I was listening to like the piano theme during the credits, and that has a real nice sad sound to it, which was kind of nice. But I don't think I would have noticed it unless I listened to it all over again. So I kind of have a hard time rating this one because I know how acclaimed it is, but it really, I didn't hate it, but at the same time I didn't enjoy it either. So I would probably have to go with 2.5 stars.
I gave it 2 just because there's nothing enjoyable about it. But, I definitely watched, the last year was the year of like schlocky movies for me. So I know it's definitely not as bad as those. Mm-hmm. But, I couldn't, I'm falling asleep thinking about it again.
All right, now to our challenge movie. And last week, or last time, I recommended Ivan's Childhood to you from a random sorter because I did want to introduce you to Tarkovsky because he's one of my favorite directors. Very artsy director, so I wasn't exactly sure. So he's a little bit like Lynch in the fact that like I've seen all of Lynch's films and like I have an idea of where I think people should start like watching them because Lynch can go like off the deep end. Now Tarkovsky can get like really, really artsy. And so a lot of times people do say that Ivan's Childhood is the best way to get into his films. And I pretty much agree. Now it's not my first Tarkovsky film, but it was one of the early ones I watched. Now this movie is also very minimalistic in terms of the story. It's a very simple story, but at least there's like a real strong theme. And there's a lot to chew on in terms of like how it's presented compared to Army of Shadows being moody, Paris streets or whatever. So, how about it, Joey? Was Ivan's Childhood a little bit of a breath of fresh air?
I liked it more, especially all of the insanely good cinematography. Uh-huh. But I also found it to not be very... what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's pretty slow in parts.
Parts, the whole thing, but it's only an hour and a half compared to 7 million hours long. So, but at least, it was, I would watch it again before I watched Army of Shadows. So, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous for sure.
So Tark, he made this in 1962. This was his first feature film. He only made 7 films altogether. Some really good stuff in there like Stalker and Solaris and stuff that I'd love to introduce you to at some point. But I just kind of wanted to get, like, I feel like if you built up like some sort of like familiarity with him, like before you get into some of his more challenging stuff, maybe it'd be a little more palatable. So that's kind of my perspective on that. And with this movie, it really felt like, so, he's from Soviet Russia and he went to like the Soviet School of Film, I believe is what I remember hearing from all the stuff I've heard about Tark. And so it kind of, to me, it feels like he put like every trick in the bag he had in terms of cinematography into this movie because it is just totally jam-packed with like awesome shots, which was... God, it's just a beautiful film. We'll probably be going through like our favorite shots here in a second, but let me just get into the story real quick. Essentially, it's about this kid in Russia during World War II, and he is like all gung-ho to help Russia perform these like reconnaissance missions against the Nazis because like his small size, he's able to sneak around pretty easily. And so the film jumps back and forth between like in the thick of World War II where he's like, been crawling through like the swamp, all dingy, dirty, like doing these missions, and then it'll flash back to like him as a child or like a little bit younger before the war. And it was like summertime and he has his shirt off and he's like just doing all these fun things, running around with his mom, having a good old time, just remembering childhood. And so, I mean, it's pretty on surface level thematically in terms of like, this is about like the loss of innocence due to war, like the horrors of war. He's getting brought into this conflict. He can no longer live life as a child. So, I mean, the themes are very upfront there. But, and the slow parts kind of come in the fact that like, he's kind of crawling through the bog in the very opening. They find him. They're like, hey, what are you doing there? And he's like, oh, I'm running these support missions, and they get like that confirmed. And like, there's kind of a lot of back and forth with him and the folks running like the military headquarters there in Russia. So you get a lot of stuff like that takes a lot of time and kind of slows things down. But then you get into some like the really, really great camera work in this movie. So the first one for me is the well. I think that's in a flashback. Like the camera is like at the very bottom of this well, like looking up at him and his mom, like getting water. And I just like dream of actually being creative enough to capture visuals. Like, cause I do a lot of photography myself. And like, sometimes I just do not fathom how he pulled off like some of the camera work he does. Any moments in particular that caught your eye or anything about the story, Joey, that you wanted to talk about?
The scene from the well was really good. The scene where the plane is stuck straight up in the dirt.
Yeah.
The scene with the apples.
Yeah.
Like I guess it's a truck or a cart.
Mm-hmm.
And then
towards the end.
Yeah, and then the horses come and eat them. And then I see that you wrote about, the one where the soldier has got the girl and he's kissing her over the trench, and like wasn't so much paying attention to the cinematography there, so much I was like, this dude is trying so hard and this girl is just having no part of it. She's like, just get away from me. And he is just like, nah, I'm gonna have you, basically.
Yeah, he's kind of a creeper, but all of a sudden he takes her over that. As creepy as he is, like, it does get a little romantic in the fact that, like, I think this is one of my favorite shots in, like, all of Tarkovsky's work, is so, like, he's straddling, like, this trench in this, like, beautiful birchwood forest, and, like, the shot, like, goes down into the trench, which looks immaculate, but then the shot comes out of the trench, and then, like, you see her, like, get, he, like, stops holding her, and she, like, wanders off. And then all of a sudden, like, we get a close-up of her by a tree, and it's like one shot, and it all stays in focus. And I don't know how the heck he pulled that off, but it's pretty darn spectacular.
I mean, also just the whole female character, just it seemed like her whole subplot was pointless and just there. Maybe he's like, I want a hot chick, because she was very attractive. It was like, I just need a hot chick in this movie. And here we go. And
it wouldn't have surprised me at all if like, okay, we need to do this Birchwood Forest scene because it looks amazing, and I have to have my trench kiss. So here we go. Which I can see how that, doesn't really belong in the story, but it looks so awesome. I give it a pass.
It just, with so much of the rest of the movie, being so slow, and you just have this stuff that's not contributing. There are so many other great shots where they're going through the bog in the boats or just wherever, and you see these bombs dropping, and then the bombs hit, but you don't see explosions of dirt and that kind of stuff. And I don't know what kind of budget they're working with and that kind of stuff back then.
Yeah, pretty slow, probably.
I can kind of let that slide. It's just you're used to you see a bomb go off and you're like, oh, there's explosions, or you at least destruction from it in some case. They walk up and there was a bomb. Now you did see some destruction. Ivan had ran away, and he's at this man's house, and the man, all he got left is his door and like his chimney and his stove, and he's like looking for his wife, and like the whole that's all that's left. And that was kind of a gut wrenching scene. And the soldiers come and find Ivan, and he leaves like the bread and stuff for him. But
and that's I think my third favorite shot, or not in any particular order. It's on the Criterion cover. It's like him at the very end of like this house, and like there's all these like jagged pieces of wood that like frame him perfectly, which looks pretty awesome. And then the last one is that I think it's like a wire cross that we see with like the sun shining through it. Pretty awesome stuff. And just overall, like the use of lighting and shadows and stuff in black and white films. I mean, we've talked about it before in like Kurosawa's work, but I mean, I think that Tarkovsky pulls it off just as well. All right. A fun fact. So this is your first Tarkovsky film. His next film, Andrei Rublev, like the climax of that film is all about like raising a bell. And so there was actually kind of a little moment where there's a bell raised in this movie. So I'm wondering if like in the back of his mind, he's just like, I'm going to do this in my next movie on a much greater scale. So I don't know. Could be, could be not. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but I don't think so.
Maybe in this next movie it was just a callback. Not just a callback, since it's apparently the climax, but
yeah, it's a huge part. But yeah, maybe he was the wheels were turning already. The scene where he's like in that room and like it's all dark and he's like reading the side of the walls where like people were like trapped in there and about to get killed. That was pretty a pretty creepy moment. That kind of gets us ready toward the end, because I think that's what inspires him to want to go out on another mission again towards the end. And then it kind of flashes forward some, and then like the Russians, they've taken Berlin, and they see like all these dead children outside. So a little foreshadowing. We probably know what happened with poor little Ivan, and we see his picture, and yep, he's no more. And if we flash back to a scene of, just the good old days with him and his mom. And, I mean, as much of the good, I'll talk about the good cinematography all day long, but I guess I do have to mention that rear projection shot in the back of the Akbol truck, I believe it is. Like, it might have been raining or whatever, but yeah, that was pretty obvious. But I think rear projection was pretty commonplace enough back in the 60s to where, like, people were used to seeing that. It didn't bother me, but it's just like, oh, there's rear projection. Are you familiar with that term?
No, not particularly. Like, I might know what it is, but the term isn't familiar.
You most commonly would see it in like old movies where like couples are like driving in a car, and you'll look in the background and you can like clearly tell that the background is like another like piece of video playing. Oh,
okay. Got you. Yeah.
Yep, rear projection. Yep. All right. So I admit it's slow at times, but man, I'll say over and over again, I love the camera work in this movie. Yeah, I think this one's a solid 4 stars for me.
I mean, I gave it 3 literally off of the camera work.
Nice. Yep. Hopefully, eventually, we're moving away from challenges, but hopefully I can get. Has Carl seen any of Tarkovsky?
He saw this one.
Okay.
With me. He did not. He was out of town yesterday when I watched Army of Shadows, so he didn't see that one with me, but which he wants to, because he loved La Samurai like I did.
Yeah.
So I think at some point he'll get around to watching that.
Nice. All right, so I guess it's time for me to open this box.
All right, so
without further ado,
we've done a lot of challenges here, and we've done a lot of genres here. This is expanding into a genre I don't think we have not covered here. It is a genre I don't think I've ever heard you talk about watching. It is not Takashi Miike, for the record.
All right.
It is, but you are on base that I do like to make the things, the quotes and the challenge movies go hand in hand. This is a movie I have not seen in about 5 years, and I can't wait for your reaction here when you see this movie, and I can't wait for your reaction when you watch it. I'm pretty stoked.
All right, so I am opening a box. They have some green little air padding here to make it, so the DVDs don't get messed up. This is the first time I'm seeing my brand new Inland Empire DVD, which you had already told me about. Yes. So I will have to watch Inland Empire again. Do you own this one as well?
No.
Okay. I've seen this once. It's very, very weird Lynch, so I do look forward to getting back to this one. And like you had said, this one is double wrapped. Don't open until my next challenge. Well,
and since this is my last challenge for this season, and for at least for now, I figured I would go big or go home.
Okay.
I feel a feeling you're not going to have heard of this movie, which is why I sent it to you. Also, impossible to stream. So.
Okay. I'm looking at the back. It is a Blu-ray.
Yes.
There appears to be a very bloody samurai on the back, and I'm flipping it over to find out what it is, and it's called Tokyo Gore Police.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And you can see on the front there, it stars the same lady who was in Audition. So that's the tie-in.
Starring Issei Shina from Audition. Okay.
Yes. So this is a splatter movie, a Japanese splatter movie. Most notable, famous one is probably oh wow, I literally just blanked on the name of it. Is Ichi the Killer.
Okay. I've heard from Miike. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is a slightly different, and we can go into that a little bit more once we've watched it. So I think you'll be in for a little bit of a wild ride, and hopefully you enjoy it. And it'll be a good juxtaposition to the actual movie that we have to watch.
Whiplash. So yeah, Whiplash is the next feature. It's the only one left on your list, so it has to be. Yeah, that one's pretty crazy too. So it sounds like we have an interesting road ahead of us.
Yep.
Oh wow. See, we've gone 123, which it seems like we've been talking longer than that, but is what it is. That's all right. Talk through Army of Shadows. Very minimalist, very underwhelming. Introduced you to Tarkovsky. You like the camera work, but you want more of a story, which he does have in his other films. So a lot of metaphor too. A lot of slowness in Tarkovsky. Definitely have to get over that. But some of his other films have more chew on. So Tokyo Gore Police, and it will be that's even funny to say, isn't it? Whiplash and Tokyo Gore Police.
Yes. That's I am looking forward to your review style for this movie.
Okay.
It's part of the reason that I picked it.
And how would you sum up my review style?
You're very cerebral.
Okay.
Whereas I'm like, this movie was really cool. This thing happened, was dope. The camera work was pretty. You're like this was the A, B, C, D, E. Like, you're very cerebral. I'm like, this was dope.
All right, fair enough. All right, thanks so much for everyone that's following the show. If you want to join the movie club, make sure you hit subscribe. And hey, get a copy of Tokyo Gore Police and check that out. And then everyone's seen Whiplash except for Joey, so rewatch that ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm apparently the only person who hasn't seen this movie. So, hey, what if you're like me and you haven't? Do that too. And then, while you're doing that, if you want to hit us up with a question to the show, send it to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com, or hit us up at our Facebook page and hit the email button. You don't have to type in all of those words. Or hit us in the comments below, hit the subscribe button, all that cool stuff. We appreciate it. We want to hear from you. Or, hit us on Letterboxd. There's tons of ways to get in contact with us, and we do really want to hear from you. We like having questions from our followers and our friends and all of that cool stuff.
Yeah, nicely said. All right, everyone. Happy movie watching. Cheers.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Un uomo di pace e feeling, spirito santo.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.